today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good. How's your first year in Clinton treating you?
It's been a really great year.
Yeah, I shouldn't say Clinton. As principal, how is that going? Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just been a big year, changing roles, going from teaching fifth grade at CES to principal at Lincoln and Douglas. But we also moved into the district. So the whole family's here now. My
Great.
kids in the buildings. And
Nice.
it's been a great year. We've been very well embraced.
Good,
So
good.
we feel very welcome from the district.
How are your kids doing? Not your kids,
Yeah.
but the kids of your school. How are they doing?
They're good. I think everyone's getting a little antsy, ready for some of the exciting things coming up towards the end of the year.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously, summer's on the horizon.
Sure. Maybe we'll talk about some of those things that wrap up the year after
Yeah.
a bit. But I want to get to the reason we invited you out today is to talk about Camp Kindergarten.
Correct.
What is this?
So this is an idea I had pretty much as soon as I got hired, because I quickly realized that kindergarten screening was not something already in practice here. Our preschool screening is pretty established, but kindergarten screening is something that I think is greatly beneficial for the school and for the students. So Camp Kindergarten will be kind of an open house style event coming up on April 19th, and we'll be at Lincoln in the morning and Douglas in the afternoon. And students and their families are welcome to attend either event, regardless of homeschool. So whatever is convenient for them, they can go to that event. And it's really about 90 minutes where we're trying to accomplish a lot of goals. So during this time, the students and their families can come into the building. They can start to meet all of the people that they're going to be spending kindergarten and first grade with. And then the incoming kindergartners will be getting to spend time in the classrooms, just meeting the teacher. They're going to participate in like center type activities. And it gives the kindergarten teacher kind of a baseline of where are they at academically, where are they at socially, just kind of looking for anything that we might need to know as we move into kindergarten. Then at the same time, I will be doing kind of a family orientation. So I'll be giving families important information about what kindergarten looks like, transportation, arrival, drop-off, lunch, just the information that will be helpful coming up into kindergarten.
Now, kindergarten's full day?
Kindergarten is full day.
Full day, yeah.
So it's a big change for a lot of our kiddos.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a wonderful preschool program, but most of those kiddos only attend half-day preschool. So going from the half-day to a full day is a big transition. So we're just looking at all the ways that we can make that as smooth as possible.
Or kids that just don't go to pre-K altogether.
Correct. So we're trying to get out in the community and find as many incoming kindergarten as possible. So I've been partnering with a lot of the preschools in the community, the church preschools. A lot of their students will be in attendance at Camp Kindergarten just to help their transition as well.
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to the open house style, you don't have to make an appointment then.
You don't have to make an appointment. We did ask that they RSVP and
Okay.
just call one of the offices, just so we can have an idea of who is coming. We can start collecting paperwork, things like that. But really, we just want to see as many people attending as possible.
Will you want parents to bring information or documentation about the kids?
They can start. So for students that are brand new to the district, or maybe if this is their first child coming into the district, they can go ahead and bring in like proof of residency, their birth certificate and things like that. But we'll also give them a checklist of all the things that they will need before they can officially register.
Yeah.
The medical appointments, the immunizations, and things like that they will need prior to kindergarten, just to get that ball rolling.
Yeah, sure. So speak to your staff interacting with the kids. Like, what are they looking for in terms of the developmental things? What are they after there?
It's very informal. Think learner characteristics. So really, we're just seeing, do they willingly leave their parents when it's time to go to the kindergarten classrooms? Will they sit at the table and talk with other students? Do we might need to notify our speech pathologist that there's maybe a potential concern when the student comes into kindergarten with their speech? Obviously, we'll look at a little bit of colors and shapes and numbers, just really social interactions. And then at the same time, when I'm doing the parent orientation, I'll have parents complete an SEL screener, so a social emotional learning screener, just to see if the parents or these caregivers have any concerns of their own that they want us to know prior to kindergarten.
Sure. So you'll get a good idea of where a lot of kids are at. How does that help your staff and you prepare for them entering kindergarten next year?
In so many ways. So it helps us create balanced class lists. So we're looking at all the different categories of academic skills, behavior skills, speech, social emotional. So we're trying to balance these class lists as well as we can. And then this way we can also notify, like I said, our speech pathologist who might need certain kind of interventions, really just so we have all the things in place. So we're not spending time at the beginning of the year. It's already in place and we can get going right away, giving the kids whatever it is that they need.
Definitely. When I thought of this, Mrs. Patrick, I thought, went to the thought of it feels like more kids are not going to pre-K than ever before. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be very wrong, but that's just kind of the vibe I get. And so it was one of those things. It's like we need to know, where are those kids at in a lot of their developments and those sorts of things.
And that's also what we're looking at. And I think it varies community by community, but it's a major community issue. I know childcare is a big issue for a lot of families. If the student only goes half a day, they have to find childcare for the other half of the day and transportation. Eventually, I would love to expand our preschool program. I think we could I think there's definitely the need to double its size.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's something I would definitely love to see in the future. So we can provide placement for as many preschoolers as possible.
Will this interrupt the school day on April 19th?
Yes and no. So our existing preschool students automatically attend Camp Kindergarten.
Okay.
Their adult may or may not join them, but they're automatically participating.
Okay.
So it's about 90 minutes where there's a lot of things going on simultaneously. So some preschool classes will combine for preschool students that are staying in preschool next year. But then we have those preschool students that will attend Camp Kindergarten because they're going to kindergarten next year.
Right.
And then our existing kindergarten students will use this opportunity to visit first grade classrooms.
Okay.
So then our first grade students get that opportunity to explain to them, hey, this is what first grade is like. Here's what you need to know.
Yeah.
So it's about 90 minutes where everybody is participating in this big transition.
Interesting stuff.
Yes.
So where did this idea come from for you? And you mentioned when you took the job, this was something you wanted to put together. Speak to that a little bit.
It was kind of a little kernel of an idea that I had. And then when I started meeting with a couple of teachers, especially the kindergarten teachers, it was just something that was identified as a need. And then it just kind of has developed slowly. There's a lot of partnering going on. There's been a lot of collaboration going on leading into this event. It's a very much all hands on deck. Everyone's involved in some capacity, but I definitely think it satisfies a need in the building.
That again is Mrs. Jessica Patrick. She is the principal of Clinton and Douglas schools here in Clinton, talking about Camp Kindergarten, which again comes up on April 19th. And Mrs. Patrick, you talked it's going to be in both buildings. Again, the highlight, the when and where on those.
So it will be at Lincoln from 9 to 10:30 in that morning, and then we'll be at Douglas doing it all over again, 1:15 to 2:45 in that afternoon. And families are welcome to attend either event. They can call either office for more information, and we'll get them wherever they need to go.
So when this wraps up for you and your staff, when do you start, kind of going through everything you learned and putting things together in preparation for next year?
Pretty immediately. So we have a couple of students that are incoming but can't attend on the 19th. So they'll be coming in and out the next couple of days after that. I would still like to come in and have them meet us. And pretty much starting on April 24th, we get out early that day and we'll sit down and we'll start looking through all the information, starting those discussions. And then it's pretty much an ongoing practice until the school starts.
So in the event that students need, whether it's interventions or something of that nature, and this is probably more, even beyond just Camp Kindergarten, this is probably universal, but speak to involvement of parents and communication with them about where their kid is at in terms of what programs they're in and how they're doing in their progressions and things of that nature.
I'm a big proponent for all family communication. Our goal for next year and the rest of this year is to increase family engagement. They play such a huge part in the success of our students. I always ask our teachers the second they come to me with any kind of concern, when have you talked to the families? Have you expressed these concerns? In some cases, it's the family coming to the table with their concerns. And we have regularly scheduled meetings where everyone comes to the table, literally, and we just talk out what are our concerns, what can we do to help the student succeed. So it's very much ongoing conversations.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what are some of the like the intervention programs you talked about? I think speech. Are there others at the school right now?
Yeah, it's pretty much whatever a child needs. So it's pretty common to have reading interventions, math interventions. We also have speech and social emotional.
Yeah.
So those are the most common ones.
Gotcha. Interesting stuff. Well, Mrs. Patrick, I look at the clock. We could use a timeout here. Just one more time. Again, how do folks find information on Camp Kindergarten? Give us one more time the dates and times, the locations, all those things.
So Camp Kindergarten will be on April 19th at Lincoln from 9 to 10:30. Douglas 115 to 245. It's on our Douglas and Lincoln Facebook page, and they can call either building for more information.
Easy enough. Very good, Mrs. Patrick. Let's take a time out here. Come back with some more. Again, Mrs. Jessica Patrick is the principal of Lincoln and Douglas Schools in studio with us today. More to come with her on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Terrific day on the course.
Let's check the markets done. The RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all trading higher at this hour. May corn up 1 3/4, 437. July corn up 2, 449.5. December new crop 474 3/4, up 1.5. May beans up 6 1/4, 1186 1/4. July beans up 5 1/4, 1197.5. And November new crop 1186.5, up 2 3/4. May Chicago wheat 573 1/4, up 17. July wheat up 15.5, 587. May bean meal 335.30, up $1.80. May bean oil 48.33, up 18 cents. Livestock market April feeder cattle currently 240.55, down 215. April live cattle down 37 cents, 181.10. April lean hogs 88.87, up 52 cents. Energy market May crude oil 86.65, up 6 cents. Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network.
Get WHOW programming live or on demand right there on your desktop, tablet, iPhone, or smartphone when you want it 24 hours a day. Just go to DeWittDailyNews.com. If you want to listen to live WHOW programming, just click the Listen Live icon. And if you want to hear one of your favorite WHOW programs when you want to, just click on the Audio On Demand icon. WHOW programming is there when you want it. Just another service from the big 1520 AM and 92.3 FM WHOW.
Allergy season is here, and our Warner Hospital and Health Services walk-in clinic inside our family medicine is here to help. No appointment, no problem. Find out more by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Ramey Miller from Run Deep Coaching. Take your power back. I do holistic personal and business coaching. My service is virtual, so we can visit no matter where you are. Find out more by clicking my icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. That's DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, Mrs. Jessica Patrick is the principal of Lincoln and Douglas Schools in studio with us here for today. Mrs. Patrick, you said it at the top. I can't believe we're down to the last, 5 or 6 weeks?
I think we're about 7 weeks.
Yeah, so we are wrapping up school quickly. When is the last day of school this year?
Kiddos finish up on the 23rd
Okay.
of May, and then teachers are done, I believe, on the 24th.
Gotcha. Very good. So, yeah,
around the corner.
It really is. Let's talk about the end of the year stuff. We're probably starting to see kids outside a little bit more. Obviously not this week.
Right.
Weather has just been terrible. Mm-hmm. But outside more, how much does that add to the excitement of the weather change and the end of the year?
I think on the days they can go outside and run off that energy, I'm all for it.
Yep, for sure. Very good. Well, let's talk end of year things and what the kids are doing. Let's start with family learning nights, because these kick off next week. What's going on with these?
Correct. So we have a wonderful team of teachers that it's worked closely together for several months, planning a family learning night for our kindergarten and first grade families. So Lincoln's will be coming up this week on April 9th, and then Douglas will be April 16th, so the following week. And it's just, it's another opportunity for families to come into the buildings. We'll have math activities and reading activities and snacks and just kind of all just fun things for families to do with their child in the building.
Yeah.
And all students that come will get book packs and math kits. And actually, we're going to give it to all students, so not just the ones coming. It's something we want to make sure that all students have access to.
It blows me away. Anytime you open up the building to families,
Yes.
everyone comes out. I mean, it's amazing the parental support that Clinton
it
has.
is. And that was kind of one of my first experiences because I hosted a Popsicles with the principal event at both buildings, and obviously I had nothing to compare it to, but I was blown away at the turnout and just the community support. For me coming into the buildings as a new principal, but just to meet everybody, parents and students, it was a wonderful event.
No doubt. Very good. So those family learning nights are April 9th and the 16th. Again, what's kind of the purpose of those? Like, what do you hope to accomplish with that?
A lot of parents sometimes I think seek out more information about how they can support their child and their learning at home. And it's just a fun opportunity to show them, here's a deck of cards and here's several things that you can do to support your child's learning with very simple things that they probably already have around the house.
Sure. Very good. So attend those. Those come up again starting next week. Mrs. Patrick, tell me about these kindergarten readiness kits. We probably could have mentioned this in the camp kindergarten discussion, but what are these? What's this all about?
So it's something I'm very excited about. Any student that attends camp kindergarten and as kindergartners register for school, each student will be given a drawstring bag, and it is just full of several things to help them get ready for that transition. Things that they can keep at home, that they can practice with. They'll have a whiteboard and a marker, pencils, notebooks, flashcards, little counting cubes, dice. And I actually had a team of paraprofessionals help assemble everything on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
So it was amazing to have that help because there's a lot that has gone into preparing all of these materials, but I really think it's going to make a big difference to give these children all these things that can help them do their very best in kindergarten.
You know, it's interesting. I just thought of this, you know, as kids prepare for kindergarten, it's probably a little easier, that transition from pre-K to kindergarten, than a student that isn't in that school setting but going to kindergarten. But how about just what parents can be doing to prepare kids for kindergarten?
And those are the kinds of things that we'll be talking about at Camp Kindergarten. We're going to give those families as much information as possible. And in a way, there's all these kinds of checklists of things that you can look at. Can your child tell you where they live? Do they know their phone number? Can they tie their shoes? They will go over the goals of what they should be able to accomplish by the end of kindergarten, like counting to 100, writing their name, obviously learning letter names and letter sounds, and just figuring out how all of these things start to connect and how they're going to use these skills.
It's funny, once my kids realized they could count to 100, they just did that on loop. Yeah, on loop. And they learned to write their names. And we would find, you know, papers at home with their names written just up and down the paper. So
once they master that skill, it's so rewarding to watch. And then they thrive on that feeling of success, and that's what we want, because then it just drives them to achieve more and more.
Yeah.
So as soon as we can get that established and they start to feel, oh, I can do this, it's wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. How does one at home foster that desire to learn?
I think a lot of it is modeling. So it's excellent for these children to see parents reading, engaging, playing games, playing puzzles, so many of those different things, giving them opportunities to talk, and then talking back to them. It's so much about exposure and modeling, and just kind of explaining the importance of going to school every day and trying your best.
Yep, very good. Very good things to keep in mind. Kindergarten readiness kits. Who gets them? When do those go home?
So these will be given to all the students that attend Camp Kindergarten, but as our kindergartners register, we will have them to pass out as they register
Okay.
for school.
All right. Very good. So look forward to those. Again, that is Mrs. Jessica Patrick. She is the principal of Lincoln and Douglas schools here in Clinton. Let's talk about field trips because, the end of the year comes around and
course.
we just had the zoo in.
We did.
I know you worked at the zoo at one
did.
point. That was a wild coincidence.
I did,
Yeah.
yes, small world. So
Yes.
definitely full circle moments. I worked at the zoo camp, Scoville Zoo, when
Yeah.
I was in college and taught 3rd and 4th grade groups.
Cool.
And all the mobile zoo animals and things like that.
Which I'm sure is fun to send them to the zoo or have the zoo come to your
I've got
classrooms.
1st grade classes going to Scoville Zoo in May, and then I have a mobile zoo coming to visit kindergarten classrooms in May. So,
Definitely.
busy month.
It's funny. I talked to Heather about this, but
Mm-hmm.
do you ask the zoo to kind of say? Do you say to them, "Hey, we're talking about these animals or this ecosystem. Can you bring animals to fit that?"
And I have found so many people, especially zoos, are so willing to increase those learning opportunities. So they know if there's a unit or if there's something that they're teaching in the classroom, they're going to go above and beyond to try to connect those two experiences.
Awesome, good stuff. So look forward to all of those. Any other field trips, like kids going places that you know of?
I know we've got some grade levels going to visit the parks in Forsyth. May's just going to be a very exciting month. Everyone's a little bit everywhere.
Yeah, and they're all over the place for sure. And let's talk about, as the year wraps up, of course, we talked about nurturing that desire to learn in kids, and you talked about reading. You're doing a special reading event. How about this?
So we're going to do a summer bookshop.
Bookshop. Thank you. Sorry.
So my goal is just to get as many books. There's so much research behind exposure to books, access to books, and student achievement. So that's going to be a common theme for the rest of this year and next year is getting books in hands. So it'll just be an opportunity for our students to pick out a handful of books to take home, and then it's theirs. And then next year, one of the amazing things that I'm very excited about is we're going to have an SEL, so a social emotional learning focus of the month. So say in November, it might be gratitude, and we're going to do one book, one school. So we're trying to bring both buildings together, and each building is going to be talking around gratitude and what that looks like. We're going to have a book that models what gratitude or whatever the topic is, and then every student in the building gets that book to take home. So by the end of the year, they will have their own little library of 10 books that exhibit all of these SEL topics.
With the bookshop, is this just like last day of school? They go through some tables and find some books they like? Is that what that looks like?
Put it in a little baggie and then take it home.
That's awesome. Great stuff. Well, Mrs. Patrick, I can't believe it. I've got 30 seconds with you. Did I miss anything you wanted to talk about today, put out there for the community?
Not that I can think of specifically, just really grateful for our first year here in the district. Grateful for the people that I get to work with every day.
It's gone by fast.
It has gone very fast.
How do folks follow with your schools?
Usually Facebook is the best way to see what's going on.
Very good. Mrs. Jessica Patrick is the principal of Lincoln and Douglas Schools in studio with us here for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news on the way.